Welcome to Twists of Life, where every story has an unexpected turn. Stories of joy and sorrow, hope and redemption, just like the life we all live. Make yourself comfortable. It's time to begin. Sarah was hurrying to work, where a medical checkup was scheduled for today. She absolutely had to see several doctors before her shift started. The main thing was to finish on time, otherwise she would have to stay until late evening. Sarah worked as a nurse in a hospital and genuinely loved her profession. The only thing that clouded her attitude towards work was the constant change of schedules. She often grumbled when she was put on unscheduled duty. In response, her colleagues usually said, "Oh, come on, Sarah. Why are you complaining? You're the only one of us without children, and the extra money won't hurt you. And we all have children, husbands." "I have a husband too," Sarah countered, though without much conviction. However, her husband Tom didn't seem bothered by his wife's evening and night shifts at all. "Sarah, don't worry about me. Can I heat up my own dinner? Or do I need a nanny to put me to bed? I'm not a little kid, am I?" he would say. So Sarah took night and 24-hour shifts more often than others. That morning, the young woman managed to see almost all the specialists before the start of the working day. Only the gynecologist remained. Sarah was already getting dressed, preparing to leave the office, when she heard the doctor's words. "The development is normal. I think there's nothing to worry about. I only advise you to hurry and register. Quite a bit of time has already passed. Your age is no longer so young that you can afford to risk it." Sarah froze, unable to understand what the doctor was talking about. "What do you mean? What development? Development of what? Do I have some problems? Am I sick with something? Why do I need to register?" Sarah asked anxiously, addressing the doctor. The gynecologist smiled. "My dear, pregnancy is not a disease. Can you really call it a problem? And registering is necessary so that the doctor can monitor you. You're already 35, which frankly is quite a bit for a first-time mother. I'll write you a certificate. With it, you'll go to your local doctor." I'm pregnant?" Sarah whispered, her eyes wide open. The doctor began to show signs of irritation. "And you didn't know? Look, woman, I have a lot more work to do. I've said everything. Now you act on your own. And all questions go to your doctor. Goodbye." Sarah automatically took the certificate, left the office, and slowly shuffled down the corridor. Thoughts swirled in her head. She was pregnant? It was simply impossible. They had lost hope so long ago. They had tried for so long, and nothing had worked out. And now this news felt like the ground had been pulled out from under her feet. Of course, she had noticed that her work uniform had become a little tight, but she hadn't paid any attention to it, blaming it all on her increased appetite. She decided she had just gained a little weight. That made sense. But why was she eating so much? Could it really be because of pregnancy? And she had completely forgotten about her period. When was the last time? She couldn't remember. Oh my God, she was pregnant. She needed to be sure. Sarah hurried to the nurse's station. Her friend Chloe was already there, sitting on a small sofa and reading something on her phone. "Oh, Sarah, you're back. Why do you look like you've seen a ghost? You're so pale. Did something happen?" Chloe asked, looking up from the screen. Sarah shook her head negatively, but then immediately asked her question. "Chloe, do you happen to have a pregnancy test?" Chloe was known in the hospital as a flighty person. She often had romances not only outside the medical facility, but also within its walls. Feelings sometimes overtook her at the most inconvenient moment, and the girl didn't always bother with contraception. Therefore, she always had pregnancy tests handy, even at work. "Of course I do. What are you asking for?" Chloe answered briskly and rummaged through her drawer. She pulled out a couple and handed them to Sarah. "You know how to use them, I hope," Chloe teased. But Sarah wasn't in the mood for jokes. With a serious expression on her face, she took both tests, grabbed an empty sample jar from the table, and headed to the restroom. A few minutes later, standing in the restroom, Sarah held 2 tests in her hands. Both showed positive results. She shifted her gaze from one test to the other. 2 lines. Another 2 lines. Bright, clear, even. There could be no doubt. She was indeed pregnant. It happened exactly when she had finally let go of the situation and resigned herself to the thought of not having children. Sarah couldn't work that day. She asked for time off without pay, citing feeling unwell. She needed to go home immediately to share this, what she thought was wonderful news, with her husband. On the way in the bus, Sarah thought, why is it crawling so slowly? As if the whole world had conspired against her. Finally, she arrived home. Entering the apartment, she took out the pregnancy test. With a smile, she walked into the living room, clutching the cherished strip in her hand, and lost her voice. An unfamiliar girl was lounging on their new sofa, covered with a blanket. And Tom was hastily pulling up his trousers. His face was crimson, angry, and bewildered. He clearly hadn't expected his wife to catch him in such a delicate situation. "What's going on here?" Sarah whispered barely audibly. "Nothing terrible is happening," Tom replied in a husky voice. The girl just stared silently. She had gone pale because she was scared. Who knew what her lover's wife might get into her head? What if she decided to pull her hair? Sarah continued to clench the pregnancy test in her hand. She understood that her fate had just taken a sharp turn. Sarah felt as if she had lost her footing. Her breath caught, and nausea rose. Tom took her by the elbow and led her to the kitchen. Turning around, he quietly threw to his paramour, "Get dressed quickly." Sarah automatically walked into the kitchen and stopped, staring at the bottle of wine and 2 glasses standing on the table. "Why did you come home so early?" her husband asked irritably. Sarah turned a bewildered look towards him. "I felt unwell. I was nauseous, and I took the day off," she stammered. Tom grunted and ruffled his hair. "You could have called and warned me you were coming home." Sarah frowned. "I have to call and warn you that I'm heading to my own house." "Why? So you could hide your mistress? Are you out of your mind?" "What's going on, Tom? What's wrong? Have you stopped loving me?" Tom avoided looking Sarah in the eyes. "No, but I just relaxed a bit. And don't yell at me. Don't make a scene." Tom peeked into the hallway. The front door slammed. The mistress was gone. "Tom, not make a scene in front of whom? In front of your mistress? I can yell as much as I want. You have no right to shut me up." Tom flared up. "You know, I think I'll leave for now. I'll come back when you've calmed down. You're making a fuss over nothing. So what if I cheated a couple of times? So what? I'm not leaving you. I live with you. That means everything suits me, and there's nothing to talk about. That's it. I'm leaving. We'll talk later when you can assess everything soberly. And while I'm gone, think about your behavior. Maybe you'll realize what you're doing wrong that made me have to find solace elsewhere. And she, by the way, doesn't throw tantrums about me having a wife, even though she could. She just enjoys the moment. I advise you to think about that." And Tom left. A couple of minutes later, the front door slammed. Sarah stood in the kitchen, frozen in place. She clenched her fists. She felt something digging into her left palm. It was the pregnancy test. It was still clenched in her hand. And Tom hadn't even asked what it was. He hadn't even noticed it. Sarah started to cry. Half an hour later, Sarah decided she no longer wanted to live with her husband. He had betrayed her, and she apparently wasn't as important to him as she wanted to believe. Sarah couldn't stay in that house anymore and went to the hospital. Chloe was there. Maybe her friend could at least comfort her. Chloe immediately understood from Sarah's look that something was wrong. "Sarah, why are you back? You were feeling unwell. What happened?" Chloe asked. Sarah couldn't hold back and started sobbing again. She told her friend everything. Chloe listened attentively, then sighed deeply. "Well, friend, what a day you've had. To get the most wonderful and the most terrible news at the same time is no joke. It looks like your husband isn't particularly keen on a child. Maybe you should have an abortion." Sarah shook her head negatively. "What are you saying? No, I won't do that. I wanted a child so much, and I won't give him up. This is my miracle. I'll file for divorce. I've already decided. I just need to leave Tom. I need to move into my own apartment. I don't know how to do it. If I go back home, he'll either try to persuade me or start arguing. I'm pregnant. I won't be able to handle his pressure. He might persuade me to stay, and I don't want that. I can't live with him after everything he's done." And Sarah covered her face with her hands, crying again. Chloe thought, biting her lips and closing her eyes. Then she snapped out of it. "Listen, let me help you. Or rather, not me, but David. It's simple." David was Chloe's brother. A nice guy, cheerful, sociable. He had divorced a few years ago. His wife had cheated on him, and David found out. When Sarah met him, David had just gone through the divorce. She often saw him. He constantly visited his sister, and Sarah enjoyed talking to him. He was so smart, attentive. One time Chloe told her, "Listen, I think David has a thing for you. He comes to the hospital just like that way too often, as if he's looking for you." "Don't make things up, Chloe. What are you talking about? I'm married. He's not looking at me that way." "You just think so," Sarah replied. Now Sarah thought that David was the only one who could help her. Tomorrow her husband was at work from morning till evening. Sarah and Chloe had the day off. Excellent idea. They would have time to pack and move things to Sarah's apartment. It was good that she hadn't rented it out after the last tenants. How well everything was falling into place. Sarah agreed. Chloe called her brother, and everything was arranged. Sarah went to stay at Chloe's place after their shift ended. Her husband called her all evening and night, but Sarah didn't answer him. The next day, David was at his sister's by 7 in the morning. "Are you crazy? Why did you show up so early? I haven't even gotten up yet." But Sarah was already awake. While Chloe went back to sleep for another half hour, Sarah made David breakfast and fed him. She didn't tell David anything about her troubles with her husband. But judging by his look, he was eager to know the details. However, he didn't ask questions. He just told her, "Sarah, you can always count on my support. I'm sincerely sorry that you're unhappy and that your husband acted so meanly. For a woman like you, I'd be ready to move mountains. And I'd do everything to make her the happiest woman in the world. I would never trade you for any other woman." Sarah just nodded, but her heart felt warm from such sincere words. Sarah noticed that when she accidentally touched his hand while handing him a plate of pancakes, his hand trembled. Could Chloe have been telling the truth, and David really liked Sarah? Oh, what thoughts! They moved Sarah's things to her apartment, and Sarah immediately felt better. Chloe was in a hurry. She had a date with another admirer, and she left, leaving David and Sarah together. "You can go too. I can manage myself. Thank you very much," Sarah said. But David just rolled up his sleeves and replied, "I'm not going anywhere until we finish everything. You shouldn't lift heavy things. I'll help you." So Chloe had told David about the pregnancy. Well, everyone would find out sooner or later anyway. Together, they finished quickly. David helped her a lot. He carefully offered her his hand when she stood on a chair and got down from it. He moved all the furniture so Sarah could wash the floors. He fixed her toilet and washed the windows where Sarah couldn't reach. Sarah looked at him and thought, why wasn't Tom like this? He never helped his wife as much as this stranger helped her. When they finished, Sarah said, "Thank you, Dave. You're a wonderful man. Your future chosen one will be lucky. I myself wish I had a husband exactly like you." David smiled. "So what's stopping you? Personally, I'm not against it. Sort out the documents with your husband quickly, and I'll propose to you. Will you marry me, Sarah?" Sarah was speechless. What kind of jokes were these? She didn't know what to answer, so she decided to play along with his joke. "David, I'm very flattered. However, it's impossible. I'm pregnant with another man's child. What kind of man would agree to raise someone else's child? And I'm not going to get rid of it. So I'm sorry. I can't." David replied seriously, "But I'm not just any man, Sarah. I will treat your child as my own. Don't compare me to others. I've admired you for so long, and now that you're breaking up with your husband, nothing will stop me from winning you over. Now you won't get rid of me so easily. I'll go now, but I'll be back tomorrow. I need to fix the wardrobe. I'll come back with tools." And he left, and Sarah sat in the kitchen for a long time, not believing her ears. Sarah stepped out onto the building steps, squinting in the bright sun. In her hands was a huge bouquet of flowers. Next to her stood her husband David, holding a baby in his arms and smiling broadly. And Sarah smiled. Chloe ran up to her. She was with her chosen one, who was soon to become her husband. Finally, Chloe had also found her happiness. Chloe squealed, looking at Sarah and the baby. "Oh, what a cutie! Honestly, he's so handsome." Sarah didn't answer. She just enjoyed the moment. Who knew that by divorcing Tom, she would find true happiness? She married Chloe's brother. He carried Sarah in his arms, doted on her, and he accepted the child as his own. "This is our son, Sarah. This is my son. I won't give you up to anyone, remember that," he told her, stroking her belly in the last month of pregnancy. Sarah was happy. She didn't think about her ex-husband, just as he didn't think about her. His fate didn't interest her. Only one thing was important: her new family, her beloved, cherished husband Dave, and their little son Ethan. There is true love in this world. Now Sarah knew that for sure.